Welcome to this video on writing your dissertation proposal. A research proposal will probably be one of the first things you formally write in the research process. In this video, we'll consider what a research proposal is and why we need one, as well as the three key questions that research proposals often require you to answer. What are you researching? Why is it important? And how exactly will you research the question? Finally, we'll consider how you can use your proposal document as a starting point for a research journal or for starting your write-up. So let's start by considering what a research proposal is and why we need to do one. A research proposal is simply a summary of your planned research. It could be anything from 150 to 1,000 words or more, and students are often asked to use a particular form or structure with specific headings or questions to answer. In some cases, you may be expected to complete a much more detailed proposal as part of a separate research methods module, whilst in other cases the proposal will be shorter and submitted early on as part of the dissertation module itself. Your research proposal will usually be used by your dissertation module convener to allocate a supervisor based on your topic choice and the expertise of faculty in the department. It may be that you're asked to identify and contact a potential supervisor yourself to discuss your dissertation idea before completing the proposal. In other cases, you may simply be asked to mention in your proposal if you have a particular supervisor in mind. Your proposal may or may not be formally assessed, but either way, your proposal will be used to assess whether your research is viable. The research proposal is also important to you as the researcher, as it's your initial plan and forms the starting point for the rest of your research journey. Proposals may vary somewhat in terms of what you must include, but they usually require you to provide some brief background context or rationale, in other words, why this is an important question to research, and your proposed research question or questions or aims and hypotheses. Other key components of a research proposal may include the methodology or approach, how you intend to go about the research, and if you're going to be collecting data from human participants, you may also need to address ethics and consent. In addition, proposals often require some sort of indicative list of references. Finally, you may be asked, either as part of your proposal or by your supervisor, to provide a rough timeline or plan for your research, or to articulate any potential issues or challenges you foresee and how you would address those issues. Let's look at a few examples. This proposal form simply asks for a proposed title and brief 50 to 150 word summary of what you want to research and how you intend to go about it. This example asks for a 300-word outline, a preliminary bibliography, and any other relevant research you may draw on. This example asks for a 300-word abstract plus a description of the main proposed research methods. And this one isn't a form. It simply asks for a document that includes the proposed title and one-page description of the proposed research, including methods and indicative bibliography. So it's hopefully clear that at the core of your dissertation proposal will be answers to the questions: what will you research, why do you want to research it, and how will you go about doing so? Let's look at each of these in turn and the questions you might want to ask yourself about the what, why, and how of your research as you write your proposal. In order to answer what questions, you might want to think about questions such as: what is the background context? What do you expect your data and analysis to reveal? Is there enough relevant or recent research on this topic? Is the data you'd like to examine freely available? Or what issues might there be if you choose to do primary research involving human participants? In order to answer why questions, you might want to think about questions such as: why research this now? Have people looked at an issue in one population, country or environment but not another, or from a different perspective? Are there important potential implications for theory or practice? Or how will it contribute to the existing literature in the field? Finally, in terms of how, You need to consider questions of methodology, such as, will my research be empirical or library-based? Will I examine existing data, or will it involve some sort of primary data collection? Also, what kind of approach will you take, both in terms of methods and/or analysis? And what theoretical approaches or frameworks will inform your research? One final thing to note is that your proposal is likely to change. Unless there's a major issue with your original proposal, it's usually not feasible within the time frame of a dissertation to completely change topic and question. However, you should expect your proposal to change throughout the course of your research. It's always a work in progress. When you meet with your supervisor, they may ask you to refine your question so that it's narrower or more focused, or revise your methodological approach or the data you intend to collect, and so on. And this brings us on to the final topic of this video, using your proposal as a running research document. By this, I mean using the proposal as the starting point for your write-up. You can edit and add to it as your research develops, and eventually you may be able to develop your dissertation introduction from your initial proposal document. Starting to write can be daunting, but if you start from your proposal, it may take away some of the pressure you might feel when faced with a blank page. Alternatively, you can use it as the starting point for a research journal, then use it to keep track of your ideas, challenges, feedback and progress. A later video on planning your dissertation goes into more detail on research journals. So to summarise, a research proposal is essentially a summary of your planned research, and it's used by your module convener to assign you to a suitable supervisor and to check that your research is viable. It usually has set headings or questions to answer, and those questions will at minimum ask you for your research topic and question and your rationale for the research. In other words, what you'll research and why it's significant, perhaps also how you'll go about it. However, it's important to remember that your proposal does not mean that all of this is set in stone. It's a proposal, and so things are bound to change as you start discussing your research with your supervisor and refining your question and approach. Finally, you can make further use of your proposal document by turning it into a running document as you do more research and develop your ideas, and perhaps even develop it into your introductory chapter.